The AFC right now, if I had to pick three contenders, I would probably go Cleveland, Jacksonville, and Baltimore for like legitimate contenders for I've seen enough from them this season to believe that they're not going to just blow the game and that they're dominant enough to like roll a team like the Colts confidently. Like with for me with the Colts making the playoffs, I've seen them get rolled by too many AFC North teams where they can't really handle a Cleveland or Cincinnati.
Yeah, I would put Baltimore. I think Cleveland's got a lot of interesting players there. And then Jacksonville and Kansas City. I think just experience, I'd put Kansas City. Jacksonville on the outside looking in, just because I know Trevor came back, but I'm still nervous about his injury. I put Kansas City just because they've been there the last half decade now, but I am nervous about them. And that is a list that can change come next week. I think is the last week I can fully put my faith in there. I just know Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback. They got Travis Kelce, they got Andy Reid, and they've even when things look bleak for them, they seem to find a way. And I think they still can. I'm just really nervous right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because right now, it just seems like they're unfocused and there's been a lot of out of character plays and it's the same group as last year. So I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is just going to flip a switch and turn it on. But if there's any guy who can, I think it would be Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. So that's where you'd have to bet on them based on experience, especially once you get to playoff Steve Spagnuolo. And if anything this year in the NFL has like taught us anything as we watch the season is most of these games are a lot lower scoring than we think. So I think the Chiefs defense could definitely hold down a team like Jacksonville or Cleveland and stop them from scoring.
Yeah, I think if they're going to win, it's going to be because of their defense. And that does play to their offense as well. Because Patrick, he is one of those guys that elevates in the playoffs. You look at his playoff numbers, they're gaudy. So I think he's still going to be able to win a playoff game, depending on who they match up with. If they're facing the Steelers, and I definitely feel confident there. But there is definitely some concern. I don't see them repeating as AFC champions. I feel like this might be the year for the Ravens, honestly. As long as Lamar stays healthy and the receivers stay healthy, this is really his opportunity if he's going to go and grasp it.
Yeah, I would say it could be Lamar's year. It just really feels like Cleveland has to win this year, though. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, they would be my favorite in the AFC. And then I feel like as far as teams you want to see make it into the playoffs here. So we have like the Steelers, who we think should fall out. I think the Colts will stay there just because of their schedule is a little bit easier. But as far as like Bengals, Broncos, Bills, and Texans, who do you think realistically deserves to make it the most out of any of those teams based on what they've done this season? And then who do you think would be the most competitive for a possible upset?
I give credit to Denver because they really shouldn't be here. But when they've won 6 of the last 7 and, you know, their defense has played very well, Russell Wilson has kind of revitalized himself. I think that they could play some upset ball against a team like maybe Jacksonville or Miami. And they could give trouble. I mean, they did beat the Chiefs already, so I give them credit there. I think it'd be them. I think just for the game matchup, I would pick the Bills, but it's more or less just for the high profile names. I think the Broncos deserve it the most, though.
Yeah, I think with what they've done, I think for me personally, the Bengals deserve it the most, especially with everything where they had to transition with a new quarterback in the middle of the season. They've proven coaching wise that they can go there and they've done it before. And then you have that defense who we know is playoff ready and they've had some great draft picks on that side. And with Lou Anarumo, you feel like they could go out there, compete with a Baltimore, compete with a Kansas City who they've beaten in Arrowhead. So I think with Jake Browning and how he's transitioned where he went on the road on Monday Night Football, bouncing back after his bad game and then beating the Jaguars and then putting on a clinic at home, I think they would definitely be the most competitive team and deserve to make it the most to that last wildcard spot.
They'd be a dangerous team too.
Like just get the ball in Jamar's hands. It's that simple.
Yeah. And so like all these other teams, like I don't want to see the Texans just without Tank Dell and Nico Collins banged up.
Yeah,
I don't think that they're a good team. They're an exciting team, but I wouldn't want to see them there just because I don't think it's their year yet. I think
Yeah.
that it's a great story what's happened with them, but I don't think they should be in the playoffs yet. Next year will be their year.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because I think it'd kind of be a dud in their first game. It'd probably be a blowout. Whereas if you have like Houston versus Kansas City or Miami, Miami probably rolls them. Maybe Houston stays in it and can get some turnovers with Tua. Whereas you have Bengals versus Dolphins, you're like, oh, Bengals are probably going to beat them on the road in Miami.
Well, that's a winning team too, and they can't beat winning teams.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I don't. Of all the AFC like division winners, the Dolphins to me seem the most fraudulent with their defense not playing well, with them only beating losing teams, and their quarterback. Like of those four teams, like who would you rather have? Tua, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, or Trevor Lawrence? Like there's a clear outlier there, and it's Tua. Tua being like probably middle of the pack in the NFL quarterbacks. So yeah, I think that whoever faces if the Dolphins stay at the 2 seed, that 7th seed has a real opportunity for a big upset.
Oh, definitely. I think we'll find out who Miami is in the next coming weeks here because they play Dallas and Buffalo. And then if they lose both of those games, there's a chance they could miss out on the playoffs if they lose and then Buffalo wins out. I don't think that'll happen, but there's a chance you lose your division and potentially miss the playoffs. You haven't clinched anything yet. So there's still a chance if Tyreek is banged up here that if your offense is going to look that bad where we're only going to score 20 points at home on Monday Night Football versus the Titans, it's like, who are you really as a team without Tyreek?
Yeah. And if Tyreek's going to continue to be hurt, like that team cannot move the ball without him. Even with and their running game was good last week. Like they had some big runs with A-Train and Mozart, and they still couldn't score any points. So they should be very worried right now.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins should definitely be worried. I think the Jaguars, it depends on Trevor's health, but you'd be rematching with Cleveland. That could be a potential advantage. It's just really going to depend on the health of both of those teams. And then I think the Dolphins, we'll find out here in the next coming weeks. They have some tough competition, but Jaguars do have a bit of a schedule break ending the year where they don't play too many tough teams to finish it out.
Can you see a situation? So right now the Jags are the 4th seed. Can you see them jumping the Dolphins? Like the Dolphins right now are 9-4. They have a tough stretch ahead. Can you see them like potentially the AFC East winner falling to the 4th seed?
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Especially because like whether it's Buffalo or Miami, either of those teams having to face the Browns would be trouble.
Yeah, no, if you're the 4th seed in the AFC, it's not good news if you have Cleveland coming to town.
Nobody wants to face the Browns right now, especially with how good Flacco's been playing.
Yeah, and I think the Browns have a chance to really pick up some steam heading into the playoffs. So I think they're my dark horse team right now. I believe in them. I think they can do it. If it's anyone's year, I think it's going to be Myles Garrett, and we could see a resurgence in that MVP conversation coming down the stretch. But